The sun was falling behind the mountains, painting the alien valley in deep gold and fire-red light. Long shadows stretched over the hills, and the air felt heavy with silence, almost as if the land itself was holding its breath. Birds with bright, silver wings circled high in the sky, their cries echoing faintly. The grass moved in waves under the wind, and far in the distance, strange towers of stone rose up like teeth of some ancient beast. A young human knight stood at the edge of the ridge. His armor was scratched from travel, but it still caught the fading light of the sun. His hand rested on the hilt of his sword, though no enemy was in sight. His eyes scanned the valley below, but he was not looking for danger. He was waiting. The valley was beautiful, yet it carried a strange weight. Like a place that had seen many battles and secrets, the knight felt it in his bones. Something important was about to happen here. His heart pounded harder than usual, and though he was strong and trained, a quiet unease grew inside him. Then he saw her. She appeared from the path of stone that cut through the valley. The moment she stepped into the light, the air itself seemed to change. She moved with grace, but there was power in every step. The human's breath caught in his throat. She was not like anyone he had ever seen. Her skin seemed to glow faintly under the sun, almost like it carried its own light. Her long silver hair fell in a braid over her shoulder, shining as if it was spun from starlight. Upon her head rested a crown of gold, decorated with glowing purple stones that pulsed like living hearts. The armor-like gown she wore was crafted with alien design, elegant, shining, and dangerous all at once. The human knew at once she was the alien princess. For a moment, the world grew still. Even the wind seemed to pause. The princess stopped a short distance away and turned her eyes toward him. Her gaze was sharp, but also filled with something the knight could not understand. Her eyes glowed faintly, like hidden fire behind crystal glass. The knight stood frozen. He had faced monsters, warriors, and deadly storms, but standing before her felt different. It felt heavier, stranger, as if the valley itself was testing his courage. The silence stretched long between them. Then her lips parted. Her voice was soft, but it carried across the valley as if the land itself wanted him to hear her words. "Don't be bashful, human. Say it. Do you love me?" The knight's chest tightened. The question was sudden, almost unreal. Of all the things he expected, a challenge, a warning, maybe even a threat, this was not one of them. He stared at her, trying to understand. Was this a trick, a test of loyalty? Or was it something else, something more dangerous? The princess's expression did not change. She stood tall, her crown glowing in the sun, her braid lifting slightly in the wind. She did not smile. She did not blink. She waited. The knight felt as if every heartbeat echoed in the silence. He wanted to speak, but his throat was dry. The words stuck like stones in his mouth. Around him, the valley seemed to grow darker. The last light of the sun slipping away, the alien sky above began to change color, glowing with faint shades of violet and blue. The shadows lengthened, and the knight felt as though all of creation had turned its eyes on him. The princess took a step closer. Her eyes glowed brighter, and faint markings lit up across her cheekbones, glowing softly like starlight. It was then the knight understood something. She was not calm. Her power was strong, her beauty overwhelming, but her heart was not steady. She was waiting for his answer with fear in her eyes. That realization shook him more than her question. Why would an alien princess, ruler of these lands, be afraid of his answer? What did it mean? He wanted to ask, but her voice broke the silence again, firmer this time, almost demanding. "Say it. Human, say the truth." The knight's hands tightened into fists at his side. His armor felt heavy. His sword weighed more than stone, and yet the real weight pressed on his heart. He did not know what he should say, but he knew one thing for certain. This was no simple question. This was the beginning of something greater, something dangerous. The valley, the mountains, the alien sky, everything seemed to lean closer, waiting for his words, and still, the princess did not move. Her glowing eyes locked on his, unblinking. The question remained in the air, sharp as a blade. The human knew that whatever answer he gave, nothing in his life would ever be the same again. The words still hung in the air, heavy and sharp, like an arrow that had not yet landed. The knight stood frozen, caught between fear and wonder, his heart beating so loudly he thought the princess must surely hear it. Round them, the valley remained silent. No bird called, no wind stirred. Even the fading sun seemed to hold still, as if the world itself was waiting for his reply. The human swallowed hard, his throat dry as stone. His mind raced. Why would she ask him such a thing? She was no ordinary woman. She was the daughter of an empire, a princess who had the power of armies at her command. She could order his death in a whisper. And yet, here she was, standing before him with eyes so steady and voice so calm, asking him a question that carried the weight of destiny. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. His lips trembled, and he clenched his jaw shut again. He could not give a careless answer. He felt that one wrong word would change everything forever. The princess did not move. She did not blink. Her glowing eyes held him like chains, and still she waited. The silence stretched longer, pressing down on him like a mountain dot, but then something shifted. A faint light flickered across her cheekbones, glowing markings that looked like living starlight. They pulsed softly, as though matching the rhythm of her heartbeat. For the first time, the knight noticed the truth. She was not as calm as she appeared. Her power was great, her presence overwhelming, but inside, she was uncertain. Beneath her royal crown, beneath her perfect mask, the alien princess was nervous. The knight's eyes narrowed slightly as realization struck him. She was not testing his courage for sport. She was not taunting him with her beauty. She truly needed his answer, and for reasons he could not yet understand. That answer terrified her. Why? Why would someone like her, strong and untouchable, be afraid of his words? He shifted his weight, his boots scraping against the stone ground. His armor creaked quietly. His every movement sounded louder in the silence. The princess's eyes followed him closely, never leaving his face. The glow of her crown caught the last light of the sun, and the jewels pulsed like fire. He felt his palms grow damp inside his gauntlets. Still, he could not speak. The silence became heavier, almost unbearable. It pressed on his chest like a physical force. He felt his breath shorten, his vision sharpen. It was as if the entire valley leaned closer, waiting for him to break the quiet. Finally, she took a single step forward. Her cloak shifted, brushing against the ground. The markings on her skin glowed brighter. Her voice returned, low and steady, but filled with a quiet tremor. "Say it, human. Say what you feel." Her words were not only a command, they were a plea. The knight's heart hammered against his ribs. He wanted to believe he was still in control. But in truth, he felt the same as a soldier standing at the edge of a cliff, staring into a storm. He felt powerless and yet somehow more alive than ever before. He studied her face carefully. The flawless lines of her cheekbones, the softness of her lips, the fire in her alien eyes. But it was not her beauty that unsettled him most. It was the vulnerability hidden deep within her gaze. She was afraid, not of him, not of his sword, not of his strength, but of what he might say. The thought twisted his chest. The knight's mouth opened again, and still no words came. He could not speak too soon. He could not let fear rush. His answer. He needed to be certain, for both their sakes. The princess stepped closer still. She was only a breath away now. Her scent, faint and strange, like flowers that did not grow on earth, reached him. Her voice was barely above a whisper, but in the silence of the valley, it sounded louder than thunder. "You will answer me, human. You must." The knight's hands clenched into fists at his sides. He could feel the tension coil inside him like a wound spring. His chest ached with the pressure. The moment stretched, threatening to break him. He wanted to turn away, but he could not. Her eyes held him, fast, unrelenting. He wanted to fight the silence with a careless laugh, but even that escaped him. The weight of her question was too great. For a long time, he simply stood there, staring into her gaze, fighting the storm that raged inside him. The valley's golden light dimmed further, violet shadows creeping across the hills. The sky above darkened, glowing faintly with alien colors. The world was shifting, minute by minute, pulling him closer to something he did not yet understand. And the princess, She never moved. She only watched him with those glowing eyes, the fear inside, her growing clearer with every heartbeat. The silence was no longer empty. It was alive. It carried questions he dared not ask, and answers he was afraid to give. It was the kind of silence that could tear two souls apart or bind them forever. He felt his breath catch. His answer would not only change this moment, it would change everything. The knight closed his eyes for the briefest second, steadying his heart. He opened them again and found her waiting, unblinking, unshaken, but trembling inside in ways only he could see. The silence between them stretched further, deeper, stronger, and though no words had yet been spoken, both of them knew that the moment of truth was coming, closer with every heartbeat. The knight's chest felt tight as the silence dragged on. Every second that passed weighed heavier than iron. He stood motionless, his hand resting near the hilt of his sword. Though no battle had begun, yet inside, he felt as if he was fighting a war against himself. The princess remained steady in front of him, her glowing eyes locked on his face. She looked like a statue carved from starlight and gold, perfect and untouchable. But then, in the fading light, something caught his attention. Her eyes flickered, not in anger, not in coldness, but in something far more fragile. For just a heartbeat, he saw fear. It startled him. He blinked, uncertain if his mind was playing tricks. But as he focused again, he saw it more clearly. The faint glow across her cheeks pulsed with each breath she took, like hidden veins of light beneath her skin. It was not only beauty, it was a signal. She was nervous. The realization cut through his confusion like a blade. She was not asking him out of cruelty or some royal game. She wanted to know his answer because it mattered. It mattered to her. The knight's heart beat harder, and a chill ran across his back. Why would an alien princess, who commanded armies and lived among stars, tremble at the words of a single human? He tried to read her more closely. The markings along her skin glowed and faded in soft rhythm, betraying what her calm face tried to hide. Her lips were pressed together, but not in anger. They were tense, almost trembling, as though she feared her own question more than his silence. He shifted slightly, his armor groaning faintly. The sound seemed to echo too loud in the still valley. Her gaze sharpened instantly, as if even the smallest movement from him carried meaning. He realized then that he was no longer only a knight standing in a foreign land. He was the center of something greater, something fragile, and every breath he took pressed against invisible threads that could snap at any moment. He lowered his eyes for a brief second, then looked back at her. The glow of her crown caught the violet of the rising alien sky, and the light painted her face in shades of gold and purple. Her beauty was beyond human words, yet it was the fear inside her that held him prisoner. His throat tightened. The urge to speak clawed at him, but the right words refused to come. He wanted to ask her why she cared, why his answer held such weight. But he knew asking would only break the moment, and something told him she might not answer anyway. The princess took another step closer. The sound of her boots on the stone path was soft, almost delicate, yet each step felt like thunder in his chest. She stood so near now that he could see the fine details of her glowing markings, the slight curve of her lips, the faint tremor in her breath. Her voice, when it came again, was low and quiet, but no less demanding. Do not hide, human. Your silence speaks louder than words. The knight's hands curled into fists. His silence was not weakness. It was not fear. But how could he explain that to her? His heart carried too many storms, and his mind spun with questions he could not shape into speech. Still, he could not deny the truth he saw in her eyes. She was waiting, not as a ruler, but as something more vulnerable, something closer to human than he had ever imagined. A strange feeling crept through him then. For all her power, all her alien grace, she seemed almost fragile in this moment. Her demand was sharp, but her heart was exposed, and that made her dangerous in a new way. He wondered if she realized what she had shown him. Did she know her markings betrayed her nerves? Did she know her voice carried tremors when she pressed him for an answer? Or was she too deep inside her own fear to notice? The knight's jaw tightened. He stood still, measuring her, weighing the cost of every possible word he could speak. He felt as though the valley itself leaned closer, pressing against him, urging him to answer. But he did not answer, not yet. Her eyes softened slightly, but only for a moment. She straightened her shoulders, as though remembering who she was. Yet the knight could see the truth she could not hide. Her power, her beauty, her crown, none of it shielded her from the fear of rejection. That thought struck him harder than any sword ever had. The silence between them grew alive. Humming with tension, his chest rose and fell heavily, each breath. A battle. Her glowing eyes did not waver, but inside them burned a fire that looked less like command and more like desperate hope. The knight felt his heart shift. He no longer saw her only as a princess, or even as an alien. He saw her as someone waiting, vulnerable, bound by the same fragile threads that tied all beings together. And for the first time, he understood. The answer she sought was not about power, it was about truth, a truth that could bind them or break them, change the course of both their worlds. He exhaled slowly, steadying himself, but he still held his silence. He wanted to see more, to understand more, before speaking, and so he watched her closely, searching her face for every hidden meaning, every silent plea. The princess did not move again. She only stood there, her crown glowing faintly, her markings alive with nervous light, her voice unspoken, but her question echoing still. The knight felt the storm inside him grow. He knew the moment of his answer was drawing near, closer with every heartbeat. And yet, for now, the silence remained fragile, tense, and filled with secrets waiting to break free. The air grew heavier with every heartbeat. The human stood still, his silence stretching like a drawn bow. His eyes locked on the alien princess who refused to look away. Between them hung a question sharp enough to cut the world in half. Her demands still echoed, her voice soft but commanding, and the valley itself seemed to wait for the answer. The princess's markings glowed brighter now, delicate veins of light across her skin pulsing with rhythm. They betrayed her composure, revealing the storm hidden beneath her royal mask. The knight saw the truth she tried to hide. She was not calm, not steady. She was waiting. Trembling inside though her body stood tall. She stepped closer, the sound of her boots soft against the stone path, her presence pressing down on him like a wave. He could smell the faint, strange scent that clung to her, a fragrance not from earth. Light and sharp, like flowers that bloomed under alien skies. It filled his lungs, made him dizzy, made his thoughts blur. "Do not waste this moment, human," she whispered, her voice carrying more weight than 1,000 armies. "Speak, and do not hold back." The knight's hand twitched against his sword hilt, not from anger, but from the need to anchor himself. His armor felt too heavy. His chest ached with the pressure of her gaze. He wanted to answer, but the words he carried were not small words. They were not safe words. He feared them. The valley dimmed as the last of the sun vanished behind the mountains. The sky turned violet and blue, painted with strange streaks of light that danced like rivers of fire. The world around them transformed, alien yet beautiful, and it made the moment even sharper. As though creation itself leaned closer to listen, the princess tilted her head slightly, her glowing eyes narrowing. She was studying him now, reading his silence like a book. Her lips parted again, firmer this time. "Do you think your silence will protect you? It will not. Your silence speaks louder than truth." Her words cut him, but not with anger. They cut with the sharpness of desperation. He saw it clearly now. The mask of power she wore was cracking. Behind her crown, behind her regal stance, she was afraid of what he might say, and even more, afraid of what he might not. He drew in a slow breath, and the sound of it seemed to echo too loud. The princess flinched slightly, though her face remained stern. He caught it. He saw her slip, and he realized she was not as unbreakable as she wanted him to believe. He took half a step forward. The air between them tightened, a thread pulled, taut. Their eyes locked, and neither looked away. "Why do you ask me this?" His voice finally broke the silence, low and steady, though his chest thundered. Her expression shifted. Just for a moment, surprise flickered across her face. She had not expected him to turn the question back on her. "You will not turn this on me," she said quickly, her voice firmer than before, but her eyes betrayed her. "Answer me, human. That is all that matters here." The knight's fists clenched at his sides. He felt the storm rising within him, pressing against his throat, begging to be spoken. But he held it, forced it down. His silence was no accident. It was his weapon, his shield. The princess's glow pulsed brighter, her markings burning like small stars. She stepped so close now that he could see the faint tremble in her lips, the unsteady rise and fall of her chest. Her crown caught the alien light, shining like fire. Her voice dropped lower, breaking slightly at the edge. "Say it, human, say it now. I need to hear it." The knight's breath caught. Her tone was no longer only royal command, it carried raw truth. She had revealed more in those few words than in all the silence before. She needed his answer, not as a princess, not as a ruler, but as something else, something vulnerable. The knight's heart pounded harder, shaking his chest. He wanted to speak, but he knew his words would break the world in half. He knew once they left his lips, nothing could be undone. The valley seemed to lean closer, the alien sky burning with violet light. The silence between them was a blade waiting to strike. And then, with a voice steady but fierce, he finally spoke. "You think you want my answer," he said, his tone sharp, his eyes locked on hers. "But you are not ready for it." The princess's face faltered. For the first time, the mask of royal strength cracked wide open. Her lips parted, but no words came. The glow on her skin flickered wildly, her crown's light dimmed, and her cheeks flushed with a warmth that betrayed her control. She was shaken, truly shaken. The knight had turned her demand into a challenge, and it left her unprepared. She had expected confession, perhaps hesitation, but not defiance, not boldness, not this. Her chest rose sharply as she tried to steady herself. Her glowing eyes flickered, and she took half a step back, her cloak brushing the ground. The valley seemed to tremble with her reaction, the silence now alive with the weight of what had just been spoken. She had demanded truth, but the truth had struck her harder than a blade. For the first time in her life, the alien princess blushed. The alien princess stood frozen, her eyes wide, her breath sharp, her flawless mask shattered by his words. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. The valley held still, as if the mountains themselves leaned forward to watch what would come. Next, the last of the sun's light slipped beneath the horizon, leaving the land bathed in violet glow from the alien sky above. Stars began to awaken, their faint shimmer stretching across the heavens, as though they too were waiting for his answer. The knight did not look away. His gaze burned into hers, steady, unflinching. He had spoken only a few words, but those words carried weight. They carried defiance, honesty, and something far more dangerous than she had expected. Her chest rose and fell unevenly. She tried to steady herself, tried to recover her composure, but her markings betrayed her once again. They flickered and pulsed erratically, glowing in bursts like an unsteady flame. He saw it clearly. His words had broken through her control. "You are not ready for it," he repeated softly, but this time his voice carried more than defiance. It carried truth. The princess parted her lips, but no sound came. She took in a sharp breath, her eyes darting across his face as if searching for a lie. But there was no lie there. His words were raw, heavy with honesty, and that was what made them so dangerous. Finally, her voice returned, though it trembled in ways it never had before. "Then speak it, human. If your words can shake me, let them finish their work. Do not hide behind half answers. Do not leave me with silence." The knight's chest tightened. He could feel the storm pressing against him, a storm of words and feelings he had carried in silence. He knew once he spoke them, nothing could be undone. The path ahead would be forever changed. And yet, looking at her now, her glowing eyes trembling, her lips unsteady, her royal crown dimmed by her blush, he could not hold back any longer. His hand fell away from his sword. His armor felt less like protection and more like a prison. He took a single step forward, and the distance between them shrank to almost nothing. His voice came low, steady, but full of fire. "You want my truth? Then listen well. I do not fear you. I do not kneel to your crown, nor to the armies behind you. But when I look at you, when I see your strength and your weakness, your command and your fear, I know this." He leaned closer, his eyes locked on hers. "Yes, I love you. The princess gasped, her whole body stiffening. Her markings flared so bright they painted her skin like burning constellations. Her crown's jewels pulsed wildly, reflecting the storm inside her. She stumbled half a step back, but her gaze never left him. He had given her the answer she demanded, but not in the way she had expected. It was bold, raw, and absolute. He had spoken with no hesitation, no apology. He had laid bare the very truth she feared and desired most. Her lips trembled, and for the first time in her life, she looked uncertain of herself. Her power, her grace, her authority, none of it could shield her from the force of his words. "You," she whispered, her voice breaking, "you dare speak such a thing to me?" "I dare," he replied firmly, "and I do not take it back. I will never take it back." The silence that followed was sharper than any blade. The alien wind howled softly through the valley, carrying the sound of their breaths, the rhythm of the hearts caught in a storm of truth. Her blush deepened, and she turned her face slightly, as if trying to escape the weight of his gaze. But her body betrayed her. She did not step away. She did not command guards to seize him, nor did she strike him down with the power she surely carried. She only stood there, trembling, her breath quick and shallow. The night felt the air between them change. The tension had not broken, it had transformed. His confession had lit something that could not be extinguished. The princess's eyes returned to his, and they glowed brighter than ever before. But now they carried more than power. They carried something unspoken, something she had never allowed herself to show: desire. She tried to speak again, her voice caught between command and surrender. "You do not understand. Human, your words, they are dangerous. Truth is always dangerous," he said, his voice calm but strong. She shook her head faintly, her braids swaying, her crown gleaming faintly in the alien night. "No, you do not understand what your words have done. You have broken the line between us. You have stepped into something you cannot return from." "Then let it be broken," he answered, his tone unwavering. "Let there be no line between us." Her breath caught once more, and for a moment, the world seemed to fall silent again. The mountains, the stars, the alien sky, all of it faded, leaving only the two of them standing on the edge of something vast and unstoppable. The princess's chest rose sharply as she fought to steady herself, but her eyes betrayed her again, glowing with a fire that was no longer only royal command. It was something deeper, something far more dangerous and intimate. For the first time in her reign, she was not ready, and for the first time in his life, the night had spoken without fear. The words had been spoken, and they could not be pulled back. They lingered in the air, heavy and unstoppable, as though they carried their own gravity. The human had confessed, bold and unafraid, and the alien princess stood before him shaken, her strength unraveling with every heartbeat. Her glowing markings flickered wildly across her skin, betraying her racing pulse. She had worn the crown like a shield all her life, a mask of perfection that no one dared to question. But now the mask cracked, the blush on her cheeks deepened, her lips trembled, and her chest rose and fell unevenly as she tried to regain control. The night did not move. His confession had burned through the silence, but he knew the moment was not finished. He watched her closely, steady as stone, his gaze locked on hers. He had nothing left to fear. For the first time since she appeared, the princess looked away. Her eyes dropped to the ground, and the weight of her crown seemed heavier on her head. She turned slightly, her braid shifting against her shoulder, her hand rising as though to steady herself. Her voice came soft, broken in ways it had never been before. "You do not understand what you have done." Her words carried no anger. They were not a threat, nor a warning. They were the words of someone stripped bare. The knight stepped forward, the sound of his boots echoing faintly on the stone. "I know exactly what I said." Her head lifted at his reply, her glowing eyes searching his face again. She wanted to see hesitation, doubt, regret, anything she could grasp to rebuild her mask. But there was nothing. His words had been truth, and his stance carried no apology. Her lips parted slightly, and her breath caught in her throat. The strength she had worn as armor faltered. She pressed a hand against her chest, her markings glowing brighter beneath her touch. She looked fragile, as though holding herself together with threads that might snap at any moment. The valley around them seemed to respond to her breaking. The alien sky deepened in color, the stars above burning brighter, their light scattering across the land like shards of glass. The silence hummed, alive with the weight of everything left unsaid. The princess finally spoke again, her voice a whisper edged with fear. "No one has ever dared speak such words to me. No one has ever stood before me as you have." "Then perhaps that is why you needed to hear them," he replied. Her eyes widened slightly, her body trembling as though his words struck harder than any blade. She wanted to deny it, to dismiss it as arrogance, but she could not. His truth had pierced her defenses, and no wall she built could hold against it. Her hand fell slowly from her chest, and she turned her face away, unable to bear his steady gaze. The glow of her crown dimmed, its brilliance faltering as if it shared in her weakness. For the first time, she no longer looked like a ruler carved from light. She looked like a young woman, lost and unprepared. The knight saw it, and his heart shifted. He had expected anger, perhaps even violence. He had not expected to see her like this vulnerable. Uncertain, unmasked, she drew in a shuddering breath and whispered again, almost to herself, "You cannot take those words back, and I cannot unhear them." "Nor should you," he said firmly, her head turned sharply, her eyes flashing with conflict. She wanted to resist, to reclaim her command, but the storm inside her betrayed her again. Her markings flared, her blush deepened, and her breath trembled. The truth had already bound them, whether she wished it or not. She took a step back, her cloak brushing against the stone ground. Her hands curled at her sides, trembling. The knight held his ground, watching her, silent but unyielding. The princess shook her head slowly, her voice breaking as she spoke. "You do not see the danger. You do not know what you have unlocked. Then show me," he said, his tone sharp but steady. "Show me the truth you hide." Her lips parted in shock. No one had ever spoken to her like this. No one had ever pushed her so close to the edge of herself. Her heart pounded against her ribs, her markings blazing like fire across her skin. She turned her face upward, toward the alien sky, as though searching for strength. Her crown gleamed faintly, but the glow was weak, flickering. Her mask had fallen, and the truth she fought to hide was clear for the first time. She was not unbreakable. She was not untouchable. She was afraid of her own feelings, afraid of his words, afraid of the storm that now surrounded them both. When her gaze returned to him, her eyes carried more than power. They carried longing. The knight felt the change in the air. The valley seemed to hum with energy, the stars above glowing brighter, as if they knew what had just been revealed. The princess whispered again, her voice trembling, "You have crossed a line no human should. And now, I do not know if I wish to punish you, or fall to you." The silence that followed was deep, but it no longer carried only tension. It carried the beginning of something greater, something neither of them could control. The mask was gone. The princess had been unmasked. The silence between them quivered like the edge of a blade. The alien princess stood before him with her mask broken, her crown dim, her markings alive with fear and longing. Her words still echoed. She did not know whether to punish him or surrender to him, and the weight of them pressed against the valley itself. The knight stood steady, his confession unshaken, his gaze firm upon her. His heart thundered, but his voice carried no regret. He had spoken his truth, and it could not be undone. The night sky above them grew darker, painted with streaks of violet and silver. Stars glittered like shards of crystal, strange and alive, as though they were not only watching but reacting. The air grew heavy, thick with something unseen. The knight felt it against his skin, a low hum, a vibration rising from the ground beneath his boots. The princess felt it too. Her eyes darted upward, her lips parting as her breath caught. She turned her head sharply toward the horizon, where the mountains stood tall and jagged. Her markings pulsed faster, brighter, and fear flashed across her face. "No," she whispered. The knight frowned, his hand tightening on the hilt of his sword. "What is it?" Her glowing eyes snapped back to him, wide with urgency. "Your words have broken more than silence. You have awakened something that should never have stirred before." He could answer. The ground trembled. A low, rolling sound rumbled through the valley, deep and ancient. Like the growl of a beast the size of the world, the stones beneath their feet shifted, cracks spiderwebbing across the ground. The wind picked up suddenly, whipping the princess's cloak and braid, carrying with it a sharp metallic scent that burned in his throat. The knight staggered a step but steadied himself. His eyes searched the valley, and in the distance, far beyond the hills, a strange light began to rise. It was not the light of the stars nor the glow of the alien sky. It was deeper, darker, a violet fire spilling upward like smoke. The princess's chest heaved as she struggled to steady her voice. "Do you see, human? This is what your truth has done. It has called the old power. It has broken the seal." The knight's heart pounded harder. He had no idea what she meant, but he could feel the danger in the air. The hum grew louder, shaking his bones. The ground split further, sending dust and stone into the air. From the cracks came a faint glow, violet and gold, pulsing with rhythm like the beat of a heart. The sound grew deeper, louder, like drums beneath the earth. The valley itself seemed alive, breathing with some ancient force. The princess stumbled back, her hand pressing against her chest, her markings burning so bright they lit her face like fire. She looked at him again, her voice trembling but sharp. "You do not understand. Your confession, it was not meant for me alone. The power beneath this land has waited for such words. Words of defiance, words of love, words strong enough to bind to worlds, and now it is awake." The knight's jaw tightened. He raised his sword, though he did not know what enemy he faced. Then let it come. Her eyes widened, a mix of fear and something deeper, admiration, perhaps even desire. She shook her head slowly. "You are reckless, you are foolish. And yet, perhaps that is why the power answered you." The rumbling grew violent. Stones rolled across the ground, and distant towers of jagged rock shattered into pieces. The violet fire rose higher into the sky, swirling like a storm. Shapes began to form within it, vast and shifting, like wings made of light and shadow. The knight's grip on his sword tightened, his stance firm. His heart hammered in his chest, but he refused to step back. He had faced the princess's question without fear, and he would face this storm the same way. The princess moved to his side, her cloak whipping around her, her crown flickering with fading light. She did not command him, nor did she push him away. For the first time, she stood beside him, her gaze fixed on the rising storm. Her voice was low, heavy with truth. "You have bound yourself to me with your words, and now, human, you have bound yourself to this power as well. There is no turning back." The knight's eyes remained on the storm, his jaw set, his voice steady. "Then let destiny come. I will not run." The ground split open with a thunderous crack, light blazing upward. The sky shook as the storm roared to life, violet wings spreading wide across the heavens. The sound was deafening, ancient, and full of wrath. The princess turned her face toward him one last time, her glowing eyes filled with fear and wonder. "You do not understand what you have unleashed. Everything will change now. Everything." Before he could answer, the valley was swallowed by light. The story cut to black.